Hello. Well, with all the craziness going on around the world, let's go find out what's happening under the ocean. Yeah, humans are starting to penetrate the deep ocean, and there's a major problem starting to develop. Let's go over to the board and see what I'm talking about. Manganese nodules, covering more than 70% of the seafloor around the world's oceans. Manganese nodules can be found in rivers and also in lakes. They are rock concretions. They are layers of iron and magnesium, copper, nickel. So what happens is this material comes out of the water in the deep ocean and starts to precipitate these minerals out around a central piece of something, like a tooth or some kind of bone type material, shell, that kind of thing, and does just like pearls, except in this case it makes giant pearls 3 to 4 inches. They are layers of iron and magnesium around a small core. Most are 3 to 4 inches or 10 centimeters in diameter. They can be either round like a baseball or flat. Humans have a growing need for battery material to make batteries because we're running out of the materials it takes to make rechargeable batteries right when humans need them most. So the nodules are made of 100% usable material. Cobalt, nickel, and copper are another type of concretion that sit on the deep ocean floor. Now this is where it gets complicated. So, on the deep ocean floor, in the abyssal plain where it's flat, you have a layer of water that's under so much pressure from above, and these sediments on the bottom of the ocean and the animals that live there all make a soupy material that's very thick in cobalt, nickel, and copper. So these precipitate out. How long does it take for this material right here to precipitate out into a nodule? Millions to billions of years. So this is a one-time use type thing. It's like fossil fuel. Once it's used up, it's gone forever. Now most people would say, well, who cares whether you go and scrape the abyssal plain of all these nodules, and you'll have more than enough copper, nickel, and cobalt and magnesium to make all the phones on the planet for the next 1,000 years, if not longer. So, the problem is that this is an actual ecosystem, a very complex one. There are animals that happen to attach, like sponges, deep sponges, attach onto these nodules and grow. They cannot grow on the mud, which is everywhere else. The nodules are the only solid material that animals and plants can attach to and grow and live. So, not only are these nodules something that has to stay there, but this material here can't be dredged and mixed up because everything has to be in its layers for all this to work. Problem. Okay, what's the problem? It's the deep ocean, out where countries don't even own anything. So this is fair game for anybody. But what we need to do is protect the bottom of the abyssal plain by keeping rogue nations such as Japan, who has started doing this. They have big trawlers kind of thing, and out the back runs this kind of thing, and down at the bottom of the ocean is this giant net catching thing which drags upon the ocean floor, and the nodules are all picked up inside of here, plus all the living sponges and anything else that lives in that zone of life. That ecosystem is completely barren. Once this thing comes through, all you see is just sand and mud and nothing else. You've wiped out everything that's living on the abyssal plain if humans continue to try and harvest these things. There's a problem though. Humans would have to all get together and ban mining of the abyssal plains in our oceans, lakes, and rivers. But humans need rare earths. They have to have them because people want new cell phones every so often, about every year or so, or maybe even twice a year. New computers, and also electric cars, electric car batteries, electric car motors, including all the other automation that's happening throughout the planet Earth because of humans. Those nodules are very, very sought after. It just costs too much right now to get them off the bottom of the ocean. But it shouldn't be too much longer before humans figure out a cheap and easy way to grab all the nodules and everything else off the abyssal plain. Besides, who will even care if we wipe out an entire ecosystem? We've done it before over and over. Who cares about the sponges and the fish and the octopus and everything else that lives down there? The eels. Oh, heck, eels. Who cares? Get the nodules. What do you guys think about this? Down there lays an abundance of rare earths that could make going to renewable energy much easier, and transporting ourselves around would be much easier with those nodules. But the cost is an entire ecosystem. Over 70% of the oceans would be dead if we did that. Because once it starts, it won't stop until every last nodule is gone.
Every voice is making choice. Noise all over the place. Oh, you're gonna be hard, yeah. Come together now, yeah.
So let's go over to politics for a quickie here. So yesterday and last night in the District of Columbia, there in that D.C. area, Capitol, White House, all that. Well, anyway, there's a street there that's called Black Lives Matter. And the Proud Boys, the racist white Aryan Nation type groups, decided to meet there and cheer on Donald Trump for his stealing of the election and try to keep it going. The big stealing of the election that the people voted unanimous, a huge win for Biden over Trump. But he's going to steal this election, and he's calling his troops to D.C. to start it. Now, my question is obviously that this guy in the White House is going to do anything, and the opposition party is going to do nothing. And so Trump is going to try and get a civil war going. That's odd. Now, the question is, would a civil war start if the left just stayed home and didn't bother the right? So what if the right is sitting there cheering themselves and talking racism and all that? But if we stayed away, wouldn't that make things better than worse? We could have our own rallies in a whole different area and call the news crews over to our rallies instead of the hate rally. There's so many things we can do to not feed into the violence that the right wing are now perpetrating on the U.S. in the form of trying to start a civil war. The left is very smart. Are we really going to fall into some kind of violent confrontation with these white supremacists? Remember, they're going to these rallies without masks. Maybe they'll just wipe themselves out. After all, the virus is a hoax, right? According to them. So they don't need any vaccine. So this problem may solve itself by their own stupidity. I appreciate all the ups and downs, the new subscribers. And let me know what you think about the nodules. What are humans going to do with almost 9 billion people in the near future and need of rare earths? Do we wipe out an entire ecosystem and take the nodules, or what?